Today's episode of The Walk Show is brought to you in part by Jam Spots. Established in 1989, that's over 30 years, Jam Spots has provided safe and accessible spaces for musicians to create and collaborate. They have hourly, weekly, and monthly rentals to suit your needs. And here's the thing, these rooms rent out at artist-friendly rates. Cause let's face it, we can't all be John Bon Jovi. The best part about Jam Spots is its rich history in the Guelph music scene. It truly is a big part of the local scene and even has a music community within itself. And I should know, almost every band I've ever been a part of has had a room with Jam Spots. That's a ton of rehearsals, photo shoots, and even a music video we shot there with A Rise and Ruin. If you're looking for a space within our music community, check out jamspots.com. That's JAMSPOTS.com. Jam Spots. Make some noise! Howdy, folks. Welcome to The Walk Show. Podcasting on all major platforms and broadcasting on Hypernova Radio. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Blue Sky. And if you want to support the show with your dollars, you can subscribe over on Patreon for $5 a month. I'm Derek Prince-Cox, and I hope you're all keeping well. I don't know about you, but it feels like the first part of this year has been dragging on forever. Maybe it's been the brutal winter weather. I don't really know, but things are finally starting to pick up a bit. And, there's some gigs and a lot of rehearsals coming down the pike. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. Sometimes it just feels like you're constantly spinning your wheels and getting nowhere. Admittedly, there's a few things going on in my life that I need to get into the rearview mirror right now, and maybe that's having an effect on me too, but I don't know. All I know is I can always count on The Walk Show as an outlet, and I appreciate every one of you for hanging out. I may seem a bit down, but I do remain optimistic. If everything goes to plan, it should be a terrific year, and I wish the same for all of you. I reached out to you on the Walk Show socials to ask you what the greatest April Fool's Day prank is. And here's what you had to say.
Now it's time to check that mail. I'm gonna check that mail good. Yeah, check that mail.
From Sean Pearson of Angel Dust. Hey, brother. Sean says, I had a neighboring apartment who would throw parties till 5 a.m. most nights of the week. Woke up my two eldest kids, who were 3 and 4 at the time, consistently throughout every night. The last year I was there, on April Fool's, I took a heavily greased baking tray, peed in it, and then froze it. If you get the right wrist action, you can get the frozen pea sheet to slide off the tray and right under someone's apartment door. Hearing the frustration and confusion sounds coming from above was the greatest ever. Dude, that's excellent. I love it. From Scott Rebello of Frank Dukes and Pink Lemonade Records. Hey, duder. And Scott left a gif of the classic flaming bag of poop on the doorstep prank. And yeah, Scott, the classics are classics for a reason. From Michael Huzar, who I went to high school with, actually. What's up, man? Michael says, I was staying overnight in the hospital, and a friend I made and I thought it would be a great idea if I pretended to have a seizure after taking new medication. Well, let me tell you, it was not funny to the attending RN. She ran for the blue button so fast I barely had time to get out April Fools. She called us rotten kids, and I learned a lesson that day. Yeah, dude, that's evil. Pretty funny, though. From Andy Robillard of the Strother Martins. Hey, buddy. Andy says, being born on that date. Yes, truly a prank on all of us, Andy. Nah, Andy rules. Miss you, dude. And let's go play some friggin' gigs, man. As for me, I feel like I ask this every year and I never have a great answer, but when I was going over this this time, I just remembered one from high school, and it wasn't April Fool's Day per se, but I did fake an injury in wood shop class on the bandsaw. Yeah, I thought it would be funny to yell, Jesus Christ, I cut my finger. And turns out it wasn't that funny, and I did get kicked out of class that day. But yeah, that did happen. As always, thanks so much for your participation. If you aren't writing in and you want to get in on the action, when you see a listener question pop up on the Walk Show socials, leave your answers in the comments or email them to thewalkshow@gmail.com. On that note, let's do today's Double Feature Preacher.
The Double Feature Preacher is brought to you by Planet Bean Coffee.
Woo, that is a tasty f***ing brew.
And by The Walk Show.
Today's music feature is Something's in the Dark, She's Gone by Nzondi. Nzondi is a musician and award-winning horror author from New York. This track is heavy, groovy, dark, and catchy all at the same time. This song actually has a very dark origin, though. Something's in the Dark, She's Gone is about the death of Nzondi's wife, who passed only 5 days after they were married. While I'm delighted to play your music on the show, Nzondi, I am terribly sorry for your loss. Big thanks to Alternative Twist Radio for sending me this track. You can support Nzondi by checking out youtube.com/@NZONDI3 and be sure to give him a follow on the socials. Today's Planet Bean feature is their Chatty Matty blend. This is a lighter blend with hints of nuts and caramel. I used to be a strictly dark roast guy, but as you get into higher quality coffee, you realize that the subtlety of a lighter roast can be just as enjoyable. Chatty Matty is a classic example of this. I still don't have the palate of a true coffee aficionado, but Planet Bean's amazing coffees are definitely pointing me in the right direction. Planet Bean Coffee is Guelph's coffee company, having roasted fair trade and organic coffee since 1997. Check out what they're up to, get a list of locations and a list of vendors at planetbeancoffee.com. Most importantly, support Planet Bean with your dollars. You'll be glad you did. Oh, and when you do, if you want to help out the Walk Show, please let them know that I sent you.
Stick around to the end of the podcast to hear the full song from today's Double Feature Preacher artist.
For this episode, I had a conversation with Devere Agard, also known as the Funky Blues Doctor. Devere is the host of Planet Groove on CFRU 93.3 FM. Check it out every Friday at 10 a.m. In the meantime, Devere was kind enough to make some time for my show, and this dude rules. We always have a good time hanging out and talking, so we thought we'd do it again with some mics on. We had a great chat, and I hope you dig it. So let's get into it.
So yeah, we were just talking about the Beatles. So and England. So my parents originated from like Barbados. So it was a Commonwealth country. So we immigrated to London. I was born in England, and I was actually born in Hammersmith, like the Motorhead album, No Sleep Till Hammersmith.
Oh, no way, dude.
Yeah. So my parents, their tastes in music were, my mom liked Tom Jones and the Glenn Miller Orchestra, and my dad was into jazz and Roger Whittaker. So that's how I got a taste for music, or they're all like instrumental music and stuff. So we lived in Feltham from like 1974 to 76, and it's like that's like 20 minutes away from Heathrow Airport. And found out years later, Freddie Mercury lived in Feltham in 1968 before he started Queen. But Feltham's like half the size of Guelph. So he could have like lived anywhere. So that was kind of cool. So I went to school in England, and I guess I knew I was going to be a different personality because the first song I ever heard was like in a class assembly, or no, it was a gym actually. We all live in a yellow submarine by the Beatles. It was the first song I remember hearing, and there's like, I don't know, 400 kids in this place, and they kicked me out of the auditorium for talking. So as it ended, I'm hiding behind this fake plant, and everyone's like staring at me. So that was my first taste of like the music. I got the music bug then.
Dude, that's crazy. And I hope it's cool. We've been rolling this whole time pretty much. So
cool.
Kind of an interesting way to bring in the episode. But to the listeners, obviously we are rolling, and we're here today with Devere Agard, also known as the Funky Blues Doctor, host of Planet Groove on CFRU 93.3. Dude, thanks for making time for the show.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. It's awesome, man.
Oh,
I love music. It's been a part of my system forever. Like, so the reason why we came to Canada, but I know we wouldn't touch on politics, but this is the only thing. It's kind of funny. My old man seen Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, on TV, and he switched the TV off. He goes, "We're going to Canada." I guess at that time, the punk movement was in full swing, but I never saw punkers. I just remember long rock types of like long hair and stuff.
Dude, so that's hilarious.
I know, that's why I came to Canada. Hilarious. I was 6 years old. Parents moved to England essentially to get their jobs. Like my mom was a nurse and dad was a welder, but they weren't the hippest people. Like we lived in swing London, and my mom remembers who the Yardbirds were and Hendrix, but they never went out. I'm like, wow, that was like the epicenter of music culture. One of them in San Francisco, New York back then. So yeah, we came to Toronto and we stayed at our cousins. We lived on Lakeview Avenue, right in front of the Garrison. Now it's all gentrified. So we lived with them for about a year, and then we moved a block away. Yeah, our cousins were called the Joneses. So my last name should be Devere Jones. So the DJ is a DJ. My dad took on his mom's name because my grandfather never came back to Barbados after the war. He actually had a liquor store up there. It's kind of odd. But I met him once. He was like a pimp. Montreal 1980. He had like alligator skin shoes and he gave me a book of Inuit art. This guy was a character. So when we stayed at Lakeview, my parents would go out for dinner or whatever, and the landlord's daughters would babysit me, man. So my parents would take off, a big muscle car would pull up. The guy looked like a rock star, long hair, and they'd throw me in the back seat of the car, and they'd be making out. They'd take me all over the place, making out and stuff. So that was my first taste of like the 70s, eh? So on a Saturday night, my old man would go bowling, and we'd go up Dufferin Street, and I'd just go along for the car ride. I'd hear like Steely Dan, Queen, Wings on the radio for the first time. So that's where I got the bug for music. So another funny story about my landlord. He, like all like Portuguese and ethnic people, would make their own moonshine and stuff. But he got busted for making his 14th Division is right behind our house. He's a character, eh? So he's kind of like one of the first rock stars I ever met. So anyway, that first taste of music, my parents decided to get me acoustic guitar. So my mom would take me to like acoustic guitar lessons, and it was kind of wild in the 70s. Like people didn't see a black person with a guitar really. They usually like the bass player or whatever. And that's where I got the bug. So I blessed my mom, because she allowed me to, like, the first time I ever heard a concert, I think, was my two guitar instructors were blasting away along here in the late 70s. There's stacks of Fender amps in the back. And I'm like, I was hooked. That's where I got the bug, kind of thing. So that was part of it anyway. So then we moved to, like, the country, and I had one gig. I could only play, like, music for 1 year. So I got my first guitar. I'm playing away in the gym, and there's like 400 people. I had no PA, and my buddy had a little amp. People could hear him, eh? And then after the show, like, I was in grade 5. These grade 8 girls came up to me and they go, "Nice guitar, man!" Like this. There, man. I should have went with it. Eh? It was hilarious.
Oh man, that's that's quite the intro to music, dude. So I mean, you've had a taste of all of it. You've played guitar. You're obviously a DJ on CFRU, and I gotta say, man, like, you have the best natural radio voice of all time, I think.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Is that like? Did you just come out of the womb just like, "Hey, this is the funky blues"?
I don't know. I think that was the conception between, Wolfman Jack and Darth Vader. I think I was born in, like, some cryo lab, man. Maybe there's a Netflix series on me out there. I don't know.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, Wolfman Jack and Darth Vader, dude. That's fantastic. That's because I was going to ask you about Wolfman Jack, because your approach is very Wolfman Jack. Like, it's certainly not anything I've heard in a really, really long time, man. Like, it's a very cool approach to doing the DJ thing, man. So I'm assuming he was an influence.
It's kind of weird because I never listened to him on the radio. Like, as a kid, I'd see him on, like, Battlestar Galactica and stuff, like, making guest appearances. But then years later, I got his book. Actually, a friend of mine met him in Kitchener. He says he wasn't the nicest guy. He backed him up.
Oh, no.
But I also I like the guy named Dr. Demento in the early 80s. He had an influence on me, too. He was kind of like Weird Al. He'd go on different tangents and stuff. The cool story about Dr. Demento was, in the late 60s, he managed a band called Spirit. And they had and there's this weird guy, and they would say, "This guy's giving us weird vibes." They'd chase him off, like, have them play his music, and then a year later, what? You know that guy? It was Charles Manson.
Oh no,
that's crazy, eh? Yeah.
Wow, dude, that is crazy.
So, my dad at the time kind of became abusive. So he sold my guitar. He abused my mom. This is like 1984, going back to growing up. And me and my mom split, right? So, we came to Guelph. We didn't have, like, 2 nickels to rub together. So guy gifted. Stayed in like a woman's shelter for a couple months, and I basically put myself through high school because my mom had a breakdown. So music was a lifeline for me. So I got gifted a radio by the Salvation Army. So I didn't have a TD for like 5 years. So I honed my artistic skills. Like, I sold some paintings in high school. I went to John F. Ross, and that's where my love of music took off. Like, I was listening to a lot of hair metal and I got tired of it. So started listening to talk radio, and there's this guy from the Beatles Museum from Vancouver. And then I heard Sergeant Pepper, it knocked me sideways. And then I just started, like, searching for, like, old music, going backwards. 60s, 70s music, blues, punk, psychedelia. And another moment for me was when I heard Jeff Beck group, I Ain't Superstitious. I'm like, wow, what's this? It's just not Led Zeppelin. They're predated Led Zeppelin. It just changed my whole world, man. Like, if it wasn't for music, I don't know, like, it was kind of like my anchor,
Yeah. You and I have definitely bonded over Jeff Beck too, man. That's dude, so good. Those first two albums with Rod Stewart, just unbelievable.
Yeah, we talked about that. But actually, my first two albums, the first album I ever bought was a Jeff Beck bootleg called Return of the Axe Murderer. I bought it, I think it was either Second Wave. Yeah, it was Second Wave Downtown Go. And my first paycheck was like $40. I think the thing cost $30, so I just walked home. I didn't have bus fare. It was hilarious.
Priorities, man.
So, yeah, like my first two albums were gifted to me. Beckola on tape and Jimi Hendrix smash hits. My friend Albert Courier got those for me. So that, like, I'd bring those to high school, man, and people were like, I like Led Zeppelin, but people were like, what's this? What do you listen? I was listening to Johnny Winter when I was like in high school. So yeah, another moment for me too was like hearing Stone Free by Hendrix on the radio. What about you? Like, musically, you talked about Jeff Beck.
Oh, dude, I mean, so I came up like every kind of nerdy kid in like the 80s and 90s into like, when I was really young, like everyone was into New Kids on the Block. So I really loved New Kids on the Block. And like,
was that hanging tough?
I was hanging tough, dude. And then, in the 90s, I was super young, man. So I got into the, the MC Hammers of the world and, all that cool stuff. And then, grunge kind of took off, right? So I got into that stuff. And I started high school in grade 8. So, like, our school was really small. So they just kind of gave us the boot after grade 7. So we got big into, like, a lot of the 90s alt rock because you wanted to be like the older kids. But then, I veered off getting into, like, a lot of metal. And, like, the classic, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Pantera, all that stuff.
I got into that stuff, too, in the 80s. Like, Priest. I remember my friend would have an Allied Forces Triumph t-shirt. 1984, my parents split also was an interesting year because Van Halen split up. My friend came to class in 1982 with Diver Down for show and tell. So cool, man. It was pretty cool. But you mentioned MC Hammer. His backstory. Obviously, he used to come out between like innings at the Oakland Athletics games and dance.
Oh,
that's cool, eh?
I knew he was a reverend, but I don't know. Did he do the reverend thing after?
And Reggie Jackson was on that team. That's when they won like 3 World Series. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I know, though. I don't. Between that and when you got big, I don't know much of.
So he probably like started as a dancer and then did the rap thing and then did the reverend thing after, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. The 90s were were a funny time, dude. It's lots of neon and big pants. Yeah.
Neon colors.
Yeah.
Living Color. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's like, 80s and 90s culture. Things were colliding. Things were blowing up. Some things were ending. Yeah, it was there was like a another anti-establishment era, like the grunge, you said, like the punk, Nirvana, and all those bands that were kind of pissed off. But around this time, 89, my first concert was Jeff Beck, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Jeff Healey.
Dude. Wow.
We never got to see. My friend Derek didn't like Stevie Ray Vaughan, so we left. I'm like, so I never got to see Stevie Ray, but Healy was blowing up, Roadhouse and stuff.
Yeah. Dude, that's
was
awesome.
Like, we got let in early, So we got to see Healy's sound check. It was awesome. So I got to see 2 sets of Jeff. And Jeff Beck was phenomenal, man. He was moving around like a spider, eh? Had like these work boots on. And Terry Bosio was on drums. Nice. Tony Hymas. It was a power trio without a bass. Tony was playing like the bass parts. So that kind of gave me a taste for like music that wasn't conforming to the regular scene. I liked Jeff Beck because of that. He was kind of like a punk rock guy in a way. If he got too big, he would like change it up. It's like almost like he didn't want to be famous in a way.
Totally, so, man. Yeah, he was definitely one of those guys that kind of kept reinventing himself, and it always kind of he'd land on his feet. It's one of those things, and I say this a lot, but it's like I don't know, if you're never cool, quote unquote, then you can never really be uncool, you know? So it's like if you're the mullet in the 80s, well, you're going to be the mullet in the 90s and the early aughts, you know? Like it's not always going to be a lasting trend, but Jeff Beck always kind of seemed timeless because he just never really dove into one of those trends wholeheartedly, you know?
He was either he set the trend or he's ahead of the curve. And then when he became, what he was doing became acceptable, he kind of like moved on in a way. Like pushing him. He didn't want to become like stale bread kind of thing, you know? Totally,
man. Well, it's funny, like just on the topic of Jeff Beck, I saw him very early on in my concert going tenure as well. I saw him, I want to say it was like mid late 90s maybe. With Johnny Lang at Molson Amphitheater. I was at that concert. Yeah, I was there.
Dude,
that's awesome. And it's, you know, it was I want to say my first concert was 96 and it was Metallica and Corrosion of Conformity at Cops Coliseum.
Nice.
So it must have been after that. But yeah, man. It's funny, we were talking about the 90s and everybody kind of thinks of the 90s, they think of like grunge and alternative rock, but the 90s was also like there was a lot of 80s kind of trail influence going into the 90s, right? With the loud colors and the you know, a lot of early 90s rap and stuff was like still very drum machine and man. Yeah, and like lots of interesting loops and stuff like that. Kind of before everybody had their own home studio and they could kind of dole out their own stuff. A lot of stuff was sample based, right?
Yeah, I'm no musicologist, but I know it seems like you brought up an interesting point there. Every era seems to have parts where people are. There's an era. There's a genre where people are dressing up, and the other people are dressing down. Like in the 90s, you had a bit of, you know. There was remnants of the new wave, but you also had grunge. In the 70s. You had punk, classic rock, and glam. There's always conflicts. In the 60s, you had a whole bunch of things like the beatniks, psychedelia, and roots rock, like the band. And there's always seemed to be this tug of war of those two kind of staples, I find. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, the 80s were very interesting because, like, in retrospect, I mean, I was born in 82, so I was very young when that stuff came out. But I feel like I was very sort of innately glued to music. I'd get it stuck in my head, like, all the time. And in retrospect, like, there was a really interesting kind of hybrid in New Wave where, like, there was a very strong punk influence in New Wave, you know? And I don't think a lot of people realized it at the time. Or maybe they did. I don't know.
I was kind of different, I guess. Like, I was listening to the MC5 in the early 90s and the Stooges, and people were listening to Rage, which I got into later. And these bands influenced Rage. I was listening to the blues and metal. That wasn't atypical, but my second show was Johnny Winter, and he was phenomenal at Lulu's, man. Like, I got his autograph. Like, I went back behind the after show. I didn't meet him, and a roadie gave me his signed CD, Second Winter, that he had signed, and there was this pelican. She was like, "I love you, Johnny." This one of the first groupies I'd ever seen. And she fell into a snowbank. And then as the tour bus was leaving, gassed up her car, she was following the tour bus.
Wow.
But in the 90s, there was still 70s and 60s acts that were still playing a lot of local clubs and small arenas. Like I seen Ted Nugent at Lulu's was one of the best live bands I'd ever seen in the club. Like, I don't agree if it was politics, man, but he was like, "Hello, Lulu." And he goes, "If there's any girls out there with big," I'm going to say, he didn't say bits, but I'm going to say big bits, meet me out back after the show. And I go to my friend Derek King at the time. This guy is a farm animal, man. So he lights an arrow on fire on stage and hits a picture of Saddam Hussein, starts playing Free for All.
Wow.
I'm like, damn. So you would have liked Lulu's, Derek. Like they had bands from, like, Chuck Berry played this place, James Brown, Nazareth, April Wine. I've seen Burton Cummings with just him and his piano. We're talking about metal, the old Canadian metal band Helix.
Yeah.
You would have loved it, man.
Dude. Yeah, it sounds legend. Well, it was legendary, right? That's funny, man. I mean, you mentioned Ted Nugent, and yeah, I know, no, you always got to kind of preface it. Well, I don't agree with what he says, but I feel like that dude, like, his politics have kind of overshadowed, like, how fucking great he was as a guitar player, right? Like,
yeah. But I met Derek St. Holmes, who was the complete opposite. His partner, he was super nice.
That's
like,
cool.
He played the rock pile.
Dude.
And he was the nicest guy I'd ever met. No politics, no nothing, like you were saying. He signed 50 stacks of memorabilia for these two gentlemen. One was wearing, like, purple track pants and open face sandals. We were doing all the talking. You walk in there, it smelled like pickled eggs, BO, and urinal pucks. And there's, like, people wearing poodle haircuts. And there'd be a guy, a 50-year-old wannabe Hell's Angels prospect. I love this party. And, like, a hot-looking lady would walk by. These guys were, like, sign. Me and my friend were doing all the talking. He hung out with John Bonham, and he got his gig because Ted opened up. He opened up for Ted at Derek's high school, and he liked him.
Huh.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, that's it's crazy, man. It's like, it's a small world. Like, as you talk about this kind of stuff, and you figure out who got what gig and who met who and all that kind of stuff. But it's I don't know, man. It's just a world, like, I've always been enamored with, and I feel like you must be the same, man. Because I feel like anytime we talk, it's all music.
Yeah. Tell me about someone that left an impression on you in music circles.
So I've said this a few times on the show, so, if you've heard this, listener, sorry for the broken record, but I gotta give credit where it's due. Derek McGowan played in a band called Hexus back in the day, and they were like a pioneer, like, Canadian metal band, man, just like, touring with actual maps, and I feel like they were out there, like, bushwhacking, just, literally trailblazing so the rest of us could jump on the wagon. But anyway, my high school band opened up for Hexus, and I was a huge fan. Super nervous, and it was just, I think it was either like a community center or a Legion, I can't remember, but we're playing our set, and I have a double kick pedal, and it just totally crapped out on me, and I couldn't keep going, man. And I'm looking behind me, and the Hexus dudes are just, like, watching us like hawks. And I'm freaking out. This is, like, my worst nightmare ever. And the drummer gives me he had a set of Iron Cobras. Just gives them to me, lets me use them. I get through the set, and they were all just so nice. And Derek McGowan in particular, just like the guitar player, again, one of my heroes, like, so nice, and just like, dude, you guys killed it. We probably didn't, but, it didn't matter, right? So it just set me on this trajectory of just like, hey, man, you can be somebody's hero and not be an asshole, because it seemed like so many quote unquote rock stars were just like, really egotistical, and that there was always this kind of hierarchy. And it just kind of showed me that like your heroes can be cool, and it's cool to be cool, So anyway, it really just put me on the trajectory of just being kind to people that were cool enough to give a shit about my band,
Yeah. One of the nicest people I ever met was Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Fan Expo. I paid $50 and there wasn't many people. And I had a Jeff Beck shirt. I mean, I'm a big Jeff Beck guy. He's smiling, laughing away. He looked like he came out of a crick. He had like dandruff on his shoulders. I was like almost interviewing. I wish I would have taped. I go, Alice, what was it like playing in the 60s, man? He goes, it wouldn't be uncommon to see the Who, Amboy Dukes, going back to Ted Nugent, MC5, and the Stooges in the same bar. And he goes, I forgot the name. He said it was in Detroit. Alice, I know, it's the Grand Ballroom. He goes, how'd you know that? I go, I must be a freak, brother. Like this. He starts laughing. I talked to him for 10 minutes. Man, he was super cool.
He seems like he'd be a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And
just
he's
don't
really
talk
smart.
about golf.
Just don't talk about what, sorry?
Golf, sorry, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know, like, honestly, I've had the opportunity to meet, like a few kind of bigger dudes back in my touring tenure. And I got to say, like, 98% of them were really, really nice. And, like one that I will throw out, and, I suppose it's a bit of name dropping, but whatever. I met Corey Taylor from Slipknot. We played CeeLo, like, backstage at Air Canada Center. And he won all the money, richest guy on the tour anyway. But super nice guy, and just for no reason. He didn't have to be, and he was a really nice guy. Yeah. And I see that guy take a lot of heat online, like, oh, Corey Taylor's chiming in. But it's not like he's just chiming in on stuff. Like, he's getting interviewed and people are asking him what he thinks on things, and he gives his opinion, and everybody freaks out like as though he made some kind of declaration. And it just irks me a little bit. So at the expense of name dropping Corey Taylor, I just gotta just go to bat and say the guy was really, really nice.
Cool. I got another goofy story. Circle back to 1994. That was when I seen Ted. And then that year, the Stones were playing a place called RPM. It's gone now. So me and my friend had the bright idea to try and see the Stones in this little club. We were nobodies. We're not gonna get it. Me and my friend Albert Courier. So we're outside the parking lot, was talking to like Mike Doll. She was a Much Music fame at the time. She was actually kind of nice to me. And then we seen Jeff Healey pull in with a groupie. She had like fishnets on, came out of a limo, looked like a rock star. He was opening up for them. And then there's a CTV guy there, and I go, who's that? See this dude roll in, shades on into the compound on a motorbike. It was Dan Aykroyd, man. I couldn't believe it. Was like out in the movie Help, the Beatles. I go tearing after him just to see if it's him. Yeah, I let him go. It was a quick runner at the time. I was younger. I wish I had like cell phones back then. It was surreal, man. But it was a pretty cool moment. And then I later see them that summer at the C&E, which is long gone. The Voodoo Lounge tour, which was like the biggest tour at the time because they had like the biggest stage. And there's this huge snake and the eyes were glowing red. And I remember this guy in front of me, he goes, I feel like I'm in heaven, man. It's like more like rock hell, but whatever.
So that would have been like, what, mid-late 90s when that album came out?
Voodoo Lounge was like 94.
Okay, yeah. I remember my parents bought it, yeah.
Oh, cool. Stone Temple Pilots opened up for him, Derek. So that was like, I don't know, third biggest stadium show that I'd seen. I seen Paul McCartney the year before, so that had an impact on me.
Yeah.
Seeing those big.
Dude, that rules, man. Yeah, Paul McCartney is, he can, well, I'd say he can do no wrong, but he did do that fucking Christmas song that drives me up a wall. Other than that, though, Paul McCartney can do no wrong. Just having a bit of internet lag. What I should do anyway is take the quick commercial break, show some love to the sponsors, but we will be right back right after this. Today's episode of The Walk Show is brought to you in part by Rock Sparrow. Rock Sparrow brings artists and brands to life through quality merchandise. They help entrepreneurs, artists, and brands with online merch solutions, taking the guesswork out of merchandising your brand by managing your every need, and all with real people. Speaking of real people, I've known the creators of Rock Sparrow for years, and I can tell you firsthand, these people genuinely care about what they do for their clients and their community. There's even a store there set up for The Walk Show. Check out what they're up to at rocksparrow.ca. If you want to join up like I did, send them an email at info@rocksparrow.ca. And if you want to check out my Rock Sparrow merch, it's at The Walk Show. That's WOK.rocksparrow.ca. Again, that's thewalkshow.rocksparrow.ca. In any case, if you want to help out The Walk Show, please let them know that I sent you. Hey, business owners, wouldn't it be cool if I was taking this time to talk about your product or service? I've enjoyed building relationships with some very cool companies since I started this thing, and I am looking to expand the Walk Show family. I work with some great sponsors, and I've sponsored events through the podcast, so I do understand how valuable time and resources can be. If you have any interest or questions about working with the show, hit me up at thewalkshow@gmail.com. Again, that's thewalkshow, WOK, @gmail.com. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get back to the show. And we are back. And it's funny, this episode is going almost exactly like any regular conversation between Devere and I. So I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. But I just wanted to plug this show while I'm thinking of it, man. Where can people listen to the show? What's it called? What's the station on the dial? All that good stuff.
Thanks, Derek. Yeah, listeners can check out my show every Friday, 10 in the morning at CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph. And if you want to listen to it as a stream in the archives, you can go to www.cfru.ca, then schedule, then Planet Groove, then archives. So I enjoy doing the show, man. It allows me to play local music, music that's kind of like being forgotten about, music that's empowers women, rare black music, rare British music, rare Canadian music, international music, the States, the blues, punk. Try and play as many genres as possible. Try and give friends some exposure in the business because I know it's a tough business. It's fun. I love doing it. I've done some interviews. I like making people feel good about their art and try to expose it to other people who are like-minded, hopefully. And I never thought I'd be doing it. When I first started doing it, I was nervous as heck. And COVID was a game changer because now I do my show from home. And it's turned into like a crazy Sykes experiment. It's like a musical. It's like a musical Jumanji, man. There's like a whole bunch of wild stuff going on. Make my own little PSAs. I'm by no means an engineer, but people say it sounds good. So as long as I make people happy and maybe give people what was given to me when my parents split up and times were tough, like an anchor, say, hey, you're worth something, you know, you can do something tangible in this world. You can make people happy through your art, you know, and you can also spread the message of there's always hope out there. Just keep doing what you're doing. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters, man. You know, and you feel good and you make other people good. That's it's a big part of it for me.
Well, I love that you said that, man, because I think like people always talk about how infectious negativity is, but I think positivity can be just as infectious, right? There's just, it seems like there's less of it, that, or maybe our minds just sort of gravitate towards the negative sometimes. So to really like inject positivity into it, and just, you know, listening to your show, it is entertaining, right? Like people,
thanks, man.
I feel like a lot of people that do stuff like this, like they forget about the entertainment factor, and it's just a lot of fun listening to your show, man.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. I appreciate it. Like, I would say some off the cuff stuff before, but then during COVID, I wasn't doing the show, and Brian Webb, who's a superhuman being from the Constantines in Guelph, check out his music, check out him and Steph Yates, came to my house and loaned me some equipment from the station. He goes, I miss hearing you on air. And then that was the start of it. And then, you know, I just took off from there. It was pretty cool. Like, Guelph's a great music scene, man. I think we have so many places to play here. There's like 15 venues downtown. I have friends that used to come from Kitchener all the time. And there's some amazing bands here, like Bonnie Trash, Joan Smith and the Jane Does from the GTA, Ian Blurton from the GTA, Jason Razzo, Croca, the Nasty Bitches, A Royal Few, Habit, Cattle, Starbrides, Ian Andrews. I'm listing off a lot. I hope I'm going to miss some people. I don't mean no. Miracle Fraud Band, Nicolette and the Nobodies, The Alive Band, Fog Blues and Brass, Maddie Simpson, Eloquent, Break Even Boys, Vita, Cattle. You know, like there's so much, and artists such as yourself, you know. There's so many great artists in town. We're lucky. Guelph is a phenomenal music scene. Check out Bonnie Trash's latest release called Morning You. A great record.
Hell yeah.
There's so many, and artists such as yourself, Apricity, you know, like Trick Vilbar, Las Armada. There's so many cool people out there, you know.
Yeah, love Tricky, man.
Yeah.
Love Vita too, man. I just saw them.
Yeah.
They played Brothers Brewing last weekend. They put on a clinic, dude. It was amazing.
They have a new record out. I play Vita sometimes on my show. Yeah, they're super nice guys. Yeah. So much talent in town. It's kind of like, go ahead there. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, dude, no worries, man. I just like, I'm a Vita fan, so I won't shut up about Vita. But I just think they're one of those bands that, you know, you watch them and you're just like proud they're from Guelph, you know?
Yeah. And there's others I want to mention too. Nathan Lauer, Ace of Wands. They're from Toronto, but Nathan's a Guelph cat. Man, like, there's so much good music here. It's kind of like a mini San Francisco in a way, you know, like vibe, I think, here.
It's very cool, man.
Yeah.
And it has been like super eclectic for a really long time. I mean, everything from Hillside Festival to like, there was a killer metal scene here. Like, well, I'd say like metalcore, hardcore kind of punk scene here in the early aughts. And
okay.
Yeah, it was great, man. And you know, in many ways it still is, but sorry, you go ahead, dude.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. As you're talking about metalcore, I've seen Black Oak recently. They're cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. There's just so much good stuff, dude. It's did I hear you mention Ian Blurton in there too?
Yeah, that guy's cool.
Yeah,
Future Now.
I've recorded with him a few times, man.
Well, I didn't know you knew it. Wow.
He's a killer producer, man. I mean, like, obviously he's a great musician, but I feel like, a lot of people know he's a producer, but like, I feel like he's not celebrated as one of the great producers, man. And he really is. Like, I did a full length with him in my old metal band, Arise and Ruin. And then we did a demo with him, obviously, to get approval from the label. And then a bunch of years later, my bass player, Ben from Arise, and I did like an EP with Ian. And that was, I feel like 3 years ago. And yeah, I haven't seen him since, but dude, he's another one of my heroes, man. I mean, like Change of Heart was so badass back in the day too.
Yeah. Change of Heart, they have a new record coming out. I think he's playing next month.
Really?
I've seen him at, yeah. I don't know a lot about them though, but his future now, it's killer, man. Like I seen him at Hillside and at the Horseshoe. Phenomenal, dude. Like, yeah, like he said, he's a great producer.
Oh man.
I think he did some work. Yeah.
So good.
Stone's Mobile Studio, he told me, I think. It's out in Alberta or something. Yeah, on loan.
It's just there's a lot of people that are good at turning knobs and rocking faders, and they know how to use a compressor, and that's all well and good. And Ian certainly knows all that stuff, but it's more than that. I think with a good producer, I don't know. Ian did things I know with us. Like we came into the studio one morning, and he was like, "Okay, you guys have like I'm gonna go. I think he's gonna go smoke a joint or something." And he was like, "When I come back, we're gonna hit record." And you're going to play something you've never played. You're going to just write a song right now. And we were like shitting bricks. But I mean, we did. And it ended up on the album, like with international distribution, right? So he would just kind of get that stuff out of you, man. And I just think that's what a great producer will do.
And he has the feel of the old school. Like I know he likes Thin Lizzy. We talk about that sometimes when I run into him. The Wishbone Ash. Those types of bands and stuff. He's a cool guy. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, super cool, man. We actually hung out with him in New Orleans when we were kind of like, well, so, when you're on a label, you pick out who you want to produce the album, and then you got to kind of get the green light. Sometimes they make you go do a demo with them and submit it to the label for approval and blah-de-blah-de-blah. But kind of during that process, he was... I feel like he was living in New Orleans. Yeah, he was totally living in New Orleans. And we were just kind of driving through there on tour, and it just happened to be during Mardi Gras. So everything kind of lined up. We just went and we hung out with him, and he showed us around. Like he showed us Trent Reznor's old house, and he showed us Pepper Keenan's bar, and like
wow, 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the house he was renting, I feel like Sean from White Zombie used to live there.
Oh,
like, yeah, it was just super cool. Christopher Guest lived across the street. Like it was
the actor.
Yeah, wow. So weird, man. Which probably means Jamie Lee Curtis did too, because they're married, right? But anyway, he showed us this side of New Orleans during Mardi Gras that just was not Bourbon Street. He did not want to go there. And it was just cool, man. Just seeing like the above ground like cemetery, and this was kind of right after Katrina, so like everything was still kind of chewed up. But
I've never been.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was just one of those really cool experiences. And I didn't plan this obviously, but you brought up Ian Blurton, so it's all just kind of coming out, man.
I like Ian, man, and like when we see each other, I don't really know him that well, but it's cool. We just start talking about old music and stuff. I play his stuff on Planet Groove. Just knocked me sideways, man. Like, phenomenal.
Yeah. And just like, I don't know, there's few dudes that can take their last name and turn it into like, Ian Blurton turns it into Blurtonia, and it's like, it's the most badass thing ever, Few people can get away with that, I feel like.
Yeah. I got some funny story. They're kind of funny anyway. More Jeff Beck stuff, but circle back to the time. It's like 95. I was young and stupid. So I don't know what I was thinking. So I planned to see Jeff Beck with an exotic dancer friend of mine. So I get to the banner. We were supposed to drive. And her arm is in a cast. I go, what happened? She goes, oh, my boyfriend broke my arm. I go, how did that happen? Well, he caught her with his best friend, and they're being amorous, eh? So I go, what happened to the car? She tried running him down and hit a hydro pole. Oh, so I said, I'm out of here. I get on the next bus. Get to like Yorkdale, transfer, and I only missed 20 minutes of Jeff Beck. He's opening up for Carlos Santana. I figured I'd tell that story before I had done. So the story, so that was a Monday. And then a week later, I seen Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. But Eddie Van Halen was like drunk, but it was okay. It was cool to see. It was the first time I see Van Halen. I love Van Halen. Like, they kind of one of those bands that kept me grounded and kept me going through that rough patch. My parents. So my buddy Ivano at the time was like, "Hey, let's go grab a beer." Someone recognized him from Guam. He used to work at the 7-Eleven. He hated that job. So you go, "Okay, we grab a beer." And we're staring at this like really attractive lady, like Beavis and Butthead. And the couple comes over with the boyfriend, like, "Oh, here we go. It's like going to be fireworks and everything." The dude, he goes, "I like your shirt, man." It was the Jeff Beck shirt that I bought the week before. He goes, "That's awesome, man." It was Joey Vendetta from Q107. Eh?
Oh, wow.
That's what I figured I'd tell that story before I forget, eh?
Dude, that's wild. And man, you got some wild stories. I feel like I met you. I don't remember what band I was playing with, but I met you at Fixed Gear. And I want to say you were with John McGonigal. Shout out to John, man.
John's another great guy. Check out John's music and great videographer. Yeah, John is a sweetheart, man.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. Buka Debauchery by John. People should check that out. I played that on my show.
Yeah. Well, me too. And it's he goes by the alias Trisk for his music. But and any like kind of videography and photography, it's Jam VP. Yeah. Just got to get that plug in there, man, because I feel like I met you through John.
Yeah.
And right off the hop, man, you had these like spicy stories. So I'm just wondering, like, have you ever caught hell on CFRU? Like, have you ever gotten any shit for telling stories on the air?
I don't talk about these stories on air.
Okay.
I make another plug for a friend of mine named Marty. Everyone should check out her show, Modern Young World. Excellent podcast, like Derek's Walk Show's awesome too. Big plug for Derek here for having me on. But yeah, I've never mentioned these stories on air. Just got a bunch more if you want to hear from me.
Oh, dude, I mean, I can never really get enough. I just, as long as you're not, putting yourself in any kind of vulnerable position. Because I know it's funny because people have asked me several times over the years, like, why don't you try to put the Walk Show on CFRU? And I just feel like I would say something that would get me, kicked out of there. And not necessarily anything controversial, but like so much of this stuff is just like a stream of consciousness where like I might say something that's kind of half baked and not really thought through, or I might swear, or whatever. Yeah. Right? So I've just always kind of kept it to myself, like just via podcast.
I had a WKRP moment once on CFRU. I swore, and Vish Khanna at the time was the man. The door comes flying open. "You can't swear." I like Vish, but I felt sometimes, I don't know, it was maybe, I wasn't trying to give him a hard time. He likes me. There was another funny time where he's trying to interview this band, and I had the monitors cranked so loud, it was bleeding into his studio. He couldn't hear himself interview. So he comes to the beginning, turn it down, and the band's laughing. Well, another funny moment happened when this gentleman called into the show. He goes, "I like classical music. I don't really like metal. What are you playing?" "I'm playing Judas Priest." That was hilarious, eh? But I got another couple funny stories here. They revolve about teenage heads. So I seen them. Did you ever get into them? Like, I've got their one record. They were kind of like cult heroes of Hamilton punk, I guess. We're talking about punk earlier. So
yeah, not really, man. My parents were into them because they were from Hamilton. I was born in Hamilton too. So yeah, they were all about it.
So they actually played Guelph. I think it was the Underground, like 1995. And I don't know why I didn't talk to the band. I didn't know what to say to them. I found out years later they liked the same influences I did, Stooges, MC5. But my same friend and we watched the band, and this lady just comes out of the jungle somewhere. She soiled herself. She wanted to dance my buddy in front of his girlfriend. I'm laughing. I'm like, wow, I got to see this band more often, eh? So fast forward a few more years. I'm at the Casbah with my friend Chris, and another friend named Steve. By the way, people got to see Cahill, one of my favorite bands. They're awesome. I love Sarah and Jamie. They were on the bill. So my friend comes running out of this all-gender bathroom. And I go, what happened? He goes, this lady tried to pick me up in the bathroom. I'm laughing. And then she comes running out. She goes, I have one problem today. I really like it. It's my boyfriend's birthday today. Can I get your number? And the boyfriend comes running out of the bathroom, swinging at my buddy. I hold him back. She was like 33. My buddy's 63. I'm like, wow. So half an hour later, we meet Gord Lewis from Teenage Head. I didn't want to bother. I just said hi. I regret not getting my picture with him because now, tragically, I think a month later, his son murdered him. So this was like maybe 3 years ago. So that's kind of like, you know, it was cool to meet him, but it's also kind of sad at the same time, you know. So, yeah, that's the, you know. But anyway, you know, music's a great document if you're like, it's just like art. You leave something that people remember you by and hopefully makes people feel good, you know.
Yeah, well, and there's just people like us, and I mean, I feel like you've probably been like this most of your life, man, just like totally immersed in the music culture where like,
yeah,
you know, what might be just like a catchy tune to somebody is like a way of life to somebody else.
Yeah.
So we're going to spin some Bonnie Trash at the end of the episode. And you plugged them earlier. But I feel like you're friends with them, right?
That's right. The Sarah and Emma Borlon Vitor. Yeah, I've known them for 17 years. I first met them in Red Rosary, and it was a free concert downtown Guelph put on by TD Bank, those Nooners, and they just blew me away. And I was raving to the Adrian Razzo was another great guitar player in town about yeah, and he casually is like, yeah, I taught her how to play guitar. He's thanks, Adrian. You can. So anyway, I've become friends with Emma since then. And I've interviewed them on my show, Planet Groove. And it's cool to see them, you know, progress from then till now. I had a feeling that they were always going to do something like phenomenal, and they have. It's, you know, it's pretty cool to see. They've got a label deal and hand-drawn Dracula. And I believe Emma is going to be in a guitar magazine soon, an expose. So I'm pretty happy with that.
That rules. Yeah, I saw that. You sent me a link for that video for Hellmouth. Yeah. And it rules. It's just cool to see, you know, the progression of them. And they're obviously like a Guelph staple.
Girls rock.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They are a Guelph band, right? I feel like they've been a Guelph staple for a long time. So either right, I'm making that up or, okay, cool.
Yeah. Big boosters of girls rock camp. Yeah, and they support a lot of Guelph artists. They're really good people, you know. There's a scene here. Like, I tell people that, and they're like, no, there is. You just gotta, you know, open your mind a little bit. And I'm always learning. There's a lot I don't know. I'm just scratching the surface, you know. There's so much music out there, you know. Definitely.
And I mean, even in Guelph, you could spend you could do a dedicated show just to the Guelph music scene over decades, right? But it's fascinating, you know. It's certainly, I mean, I love that kind of stuff personally.
Yeah.
So every episode I ask the listeners a question. I like to get my guests' take as well. Because this is coming out in podcast form on April Fool's.
That's right.
what is the greatest April Fool's Day prank?
Oh, I read this Keith Moon one. So the Who were touring the Midwest, I think in the early 70s, and Keith goes through the foyer of this hotel and he's blasting the Who on a boombox or a cassette player. And the maitre d's like, "You're making a lot of noise, man." And Keith's like, What? So Keith goes, "Okay, I'll turn it down if you come up to my hotel with me." So the maitre d' comes up to the hotel with Keith. Keith goes, "Wait outside." Goes in, comes back out, and he goes, "Quiet, quiet." Boom! Hotel room blows up. Maitre d's like, "What the hell?" And then Keith proceeds to turn the new Who album again that he was blasting. He goes, "That was noise, that explosion, and this is the Who." I'm like, I love that story. There's like, oh, the guy was a farm animal.
Dude, yeah, it was a wild dude in like an even wilder time, man.
Oh, yeah. So there's another band called Cactus. They would like just rip sinks out of hotels and the Holiday Inn when they got bored, and the Faces and all those other bands, but just classic stuff.
Dude, that's wild, man.
I've got another kind of a goofy story. I had a meet and greet for the Beach Boys and Jeff Beck in 2013 at the Sony Center. So before I get there, I'm at the Loose Moose, and the server goes, "What are you in town for?" I go, "Jeff Beck." She goes, "Oh, my name's Becky." I go, "Cool." She goes, "I play drums." Like, "What's the name of the band?" She goes, "The Pussy Pops." I'm like, "What?" I thought she was trying to pick me up. I was like, okay. So I go to the Sony Center and met the Beach Boys. Didn't meet Jeff Beck because he was sick. I was bummed. And I got to see the Beach Boys warm up and practice and everything. And I met Brian Wilson, Al Jardine. Brian Wilson's just like a cactus, man. He was just like a shrub just sitting there. Oh, it was cool. So I go by Jeff Beck's tour bus. These guys are rocking this bus, eh? So like, I'm not having any part of that. So I'm going to go back in the foyer. I'm going to wait to get and watch the show. So I look over. It's Ron Sexsmith. Oh, that's pretty cool to start talking. I know. Cool, eh?
Damn.
And then he goes, "Look who I come with. Andy Kim." So I met him. This is wild. And I sit down, and Mike Silvestro, my friend Louis Mastrola, that just ran to tap me on. I just look over there. It's Randy Bachman. I'm like, damn. He wouldn't like shake my hand. He's a germaphobe. So he just gave me a fist. I met everyone except Jeff Beck that night. So I'm getting ready to go back on the Greyhound, and I walk by the Royal York, and there's these people with just wings on. Like, this is weird. Oh, they're like a swingers convention or whatever. So I walk by and then wait for the bus, and this guy falls on his face wearing a leopard costume. Like, what's going on here? And then another person drags him down the street in a leopard costume. It was his partner. It was Halloween. That was my one Jeff Beck show. I got some goofy stories right there.
Dude, you need to write a book, man. That should be your big dirty, dude. That's your retirement plan.
Thanks. Oh, they're good stories. They're interesting ones that make me laugh and chuckle anyway.
Dude, yeah, definitely got to do a book, and you have to do the narration for the audiobook, man.
Oh man, yeah. I gotta have you. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I plan to do a podcast in the near future called Sonic Sauce Lounge. So I'll have you on my podcast.
Dude, that would rule, man. You said Sonic Sauce Lounge?
Yeah, that's going to be the name. Yeah.
Awesome. Dude, when's that? Do you have like an ETA, or is it just something you're kind of slowly working towards?
Yeah, when I get rid of the technical bugs, figure stuff out.
Well, dude, I can help you there, man. I mean,
Yeah, thanks. No
yeah,
problem.
dude, yeah, that would be awesome, man. Definitely
Yeah.
stoked for that. Let's see here. Yeah, dude, I feel like this is something I could probably do all day, but I should probably put a pin in it. So we'll just kind of wind down with a couple of questions here. Anybody you want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to?
I like to give a shout out to all the musicians out there that I know, my friends, CFRU, all the great venues out there. Yeah, thanks for making my show viable and mean something. Without you guys, I wouldn't have a show. Without great music, great musicians from Guelph, GTA, like Canadian music, whatever. I wouldn't have a show. So shout out to all those people that make things happen. I'm just a talking head, hopefully an amplifier for interesting art and a pointer to open doors for people who need an escape or need a way of promoting their art, and to allow them to express themselves musically or in any other art form.
I love it, man, and I hear you loud and clear. That's the same platform essentially as what I'm doing, where like I couldn't do this without just a sea of talent out there. So I hear you loud and clear. How can people check out what you're doing online? We gave a bit of a plug before, but let's just give one more just so people can check it out.
Oh, I forgot. Thanks for reminding me, Derek. I'm also on Instagram. It's Funky Blues Doctor on Instagram, and Devere Agard on Facebook. Where I post shows. Instagram, I post a lot of pictures. Some bands actually like my pics, like the Royal Few, who you had on.
And I used your picture, man. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, I played their new single, so I like doing stuff like that for people. Trying to help them out. Nice people, man. So check them out. Also, that's a great band. Bonnie Trash, like I said, Cattle, John McGonigal. The Alive Band, Vida, Fog Blues and Brass, Jason Razzle, Ian Blurton, Joan Smith. There's so many artists out there. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, just a ton. And anyone out there in listener land, if you follow the Walk Show on the socials, I will. I'll hyperlink and I can't think of words right now, but I will. I'll send links to Devere's accounts. So if you want to follow him. If you're not already, certainly do so, man. And what's that CFRU address again, so people can check out the show?
Yeah, it's www.cfru.ca. That's for streaming, and you can go to their calendar. You can go to schedule, and you can find any show, and there's other cool shows out there too. Let's see it for you. Silver Screen Dream Machine, check them out with Sensitive Boy. Hellfire Radio, another cool show. Ripcord Radio, there's lots of cool shows online. And yeah, you can just go on the little calendar. You can find other bands, and then just go to their archives, and you can stream whenever. It doesn't have to be live.
That's the beauty.
Yeah, for you is awesome.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, Derek?
No, I was just saying that's the beauty of the archive is you can go back and listen whatever you want. But and while we're on the topic of CFRU, I got to send a shout out to like one of the coolest shows ever when you were a young metalhead was Forever Deaf, man.
Oh yeah, Forever Deaf. Yeah, he's cool, man. I've talked to Buddy there. Yeah, I love that show.
Hell yeah, dude.
He's been doing that for years.
Yeah, well, and Todd was like another one of my idols kind of coming up, man. And like, I remember he was just like the coolest metal dude in Guelph, man. And it's, always such a nice dude too. It's another thing, man. It's just, there's a line, you can draw a line through like people that are seem cool and they actually are really nice and cool when you meet them, man. And I would say the same about you, dude.
Oh, thanks, Derek. Yeah. They say you would never want to meet your heroes. I've met some of the people. Most of the people I've met have been cool, man. Like Mitch Ryder, the Blues Fest. People are gonna go to this festival. Like, it's one of the best kept secrets. Hillside, obviously, Riverfest, Meadows Fest in Fergus, Festival of Friends in Hamilton. There's a lot of, great music festivals out there. Guelph Jazz Fest, yeah. So
definitely, and I feel like since things kind of opened up after the pandemic, there's a real thirst for it too, which is great. Man, because it almost seems like, obviously, this is big time silver lining. But I mean, for something that was as shitty as that pandemic, you got to try and find silver linings wherever you can. And I just think one of them was that people were stoked to go to shows again. Maybe we took live entertainment a little bit for granted in years building up to it.
You're right, Derek. Like, I seen a few bands in the bubble. I was one of the lucky ones when COVID kind of rescinded the rules a little bit. I was still able to see live music in 2020, maybe 2 shows, and a couple in 2021. And people that didn't see shows for like 3 years, maybe 2 years. And it's reinforced my appreciation for music. I think that's why I see so many shows now. I try to network with people and stuff. It's kind of like that period where my parents kind of split. It made music, it reinforced its impact on me, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, definitely, man. I mean, it's just good. Yeah, it's good to, I don't know. I there's no way to say it without sounding like a cornball, I guess, but just like to really kind of to have a romantic mindset and appreciation for live music and entertainment and just the arts and entrepreneurship and small business, like all of it, right?
Yeah, I was going to say something like pea meal bacon, be like a flower child wearing like burlap bags. Got like the dandelions in there, like Haight Ashbury, pulling up in a Volkswagen bus. Hey? People smoking big cannons and stuff.
Well, that's still going on.
Do you ever?
Oh, you go ahead, dude.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, sorry. Do you ever think about going in a time machine? And like, what era would you go back to if you could, or concerts would you see?
Oh man, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'd have to see the Beatles.
Yeah.
I just have to. I suppose that's kind of an easy answer. I feel like a lot of people would say that. So, apologies because I don't have some like avant-garde, crazy answer.
Yeah.
But I'd probably go see the Beatles. So I guess that would be, and not early Beatles. Like, I feel like that band got better with age. So that would have been what, like early 70s? Late 60s?
So, late 60s, yeah. I would see the Jeff Beck group at the Fillmore East, Hendrix, like you said, the Beatles, so many bands, or the Who,
True,
Humble Pie, yeah.
I just heard somebody talking about Humble Pie. I can't remember who the hell it was, but
you would love Jerry Shirley for being a drummer. Like, he had an amazing sound, but they don't get a lot of credit. But I thought they were one of the best live bands ever. But Steve Merritt influenced Robert Plant. Watch the Led Zeppelin movie. See the beginnings of the. They don't really mention. Well, they mention him a little bit, but not much. But
dude, you know who was talking about Humble Pie? Sorry to cut you off. I just thought of it though. Was Billy Corgan has a new podcast from Smashing Pumpkins. He was interviewing Gene Simmons, who was talking about. He was like, because Billy Corgan loves Kiss, right? And so I guess he was trying to go on about Kiss, and Gene Simmons was like, we weren't shit, man. Humble Pie, that was a band to look up to.
Gene is a very opinionated guy. Like, I used to love watching Family Jewels. It was hilarious because his kids made him kind of look dumb. But he's actually, when it comes to music, like, he loves the Jeff Beck group. He thought, in his opinion, they were better than Led Zeppelin. I share the same view. But there's so many bands from back then that don't, and even now that don't get the spotlight on them. That's why I like doing my show. Like I'll play a band called The Pretty Things. People are like, "What's that?" Like they're boys' favorite band, and I love they're one of my favorite bands. Or I'll play like Cactus, or I'll play, stuff locally that people don't know about. Like I'll play a Vita or whatever. Or people are like, "Well, that's cool." I kind of like try to go off the beaten path. Sometimes I'll play stuff that gets airplay in other stations. I'll do that. I'm guilty of that, but I'll try and make it interesting. Like I'll play like Flaming Groovies or something, or some rare Buddy Guy music that kind of like moved me,
Well, that's cool, man. And it doesn't always have to be a deep cut either, right? Like, I mean, I think if you truly want like versatility, I mean, some of it's going to be top 40 as well, right? You know what I mean? Like in a weird way. Like, and also you kind of hook people in with those sort of quote unquote gateway bands, right? Like, I remember getting big time into like 80s Metallica. I still think it's like some of the best music ever written. And, it got me into so many other bands. And so it's, I'm just as much of a fan of like popular music as some of the deep cuts.
I'm interested. I don't know a lot about Metallica, but I remember when Enter Sandman came out, that to me said they were going in another direction and they're going to be more commercially accepted. But when I heard stuff like from Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, it was completely different. Like this, I enjoyed it,
Oh, dude!
But it happened.
Yeah, like Kill 'Em All, which is their first full length, to like And Justice for All, which was '88, I believe. Was like just kicking the door down. Like I don't know, man. I can't say enough good things about it. And a lot of people kind of like throw shade at me for my love of Metallica, and particularly Lars Ulrich, who like I learned how to drum by like air drumming on my couch to like early Metallica albums, man. Like
awesome.
I gotta give it up to Lars, dude. And people want to shit all over him, but it's the same with Ringo. I actually, don't even get me started. That's a whole nother episode. But
I was going to ask you a question. I was reading something about Lars and his influences. It was one of my favorite drummers. Who is that again? Who influenced Lars? I forget.
Oh, dude. I mean, he's I think big Deep Purple guy. He was big into the Misfits. Oh, hell yeah, dude.
They don't get any credit, those guys. Like outside of Smoke in the Water, Ian Gillan was a monster, and Ian Pace.
Oh, killer, dude. Yeah. Well, and Smoke on the Water is like their tamest song, really. I mean, if you listen to that whole album, Machine Head, it's fucking wild.
Highway Star. Like Richie Blackmore hated playing that Smoke on the Water. It was like a throwaway song.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny too, because it's got to be the most covered song in like a Long and McQuaid or a Guitar Center, but nobody plays it right. It's
like Satisfaction by the Stones, but you listen to early Deep Purple, there's like jazz fusion elements. I love Stone,
dude.
And I love Glenn Hughes. That guy's a monster, man.
I feel like a ton of that stuff, man. Like from that era, like I'm a huge Genesis guy.
Cool.
And like Trick of the Tail, I'm going to say is my favorite right now, but definitely their proggier stuff, right? Because it had that, again, that jazz fusion influence that just it was just baked in the DNA, man. It wasn't pretentious. They weren't trying to, it just sort of seemed like that's how a lot of that music flowed and came out,
One of my favorite bands is kind of like off the beaten path. These guys are like farm animals, but I love them. Family. Roger Chapman had a vibrato like a goat. So he would, when he was getting manic, he would smash tambourines over mic stands. So Bill Graham kind of like blackballed these guys because they're at the Fillmore, and he threw a mic stand and it almost hit Bill, but that wasn't the intent. So they opened up for Elton John in 1972 in the States, and only like the roadies are clapping. These guys are animals. But some of the guys that were in Family would go on to bigger things. Like they had Rick Gratch. Their first bass player was in Blind Faith.
Okay.
And then a brainhead dead here, but the name escapes me. He was in King Crimson, Uriah Heep, UK. He played bass in Family. Oh, John Wetton. He was in Family.
Damn.
And he loved that. He said it was the most freedom he ever had because they were like a drinking prog band.
Dude, yeah, it sounds like a dangerous mix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got to check that out. You said they're called Family?
Yeah, and they had they went through different phases. They would play, they had mixed, fused prog, folk, early metal, blues, funk, R&B. These guys were undescribable. They're they're just like freaks, man. They had it all going on, but they're just big in England and nowhere else.
Yeah, it's a shame when that happens, man. I mean, first band that comes to mind when I hear that is just The Hip in Canada, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a plug Up to Here. One of the best tribute bands I've ever heard. They're a Tragically Hip band. They're phenomenal. People get to see them. Go see this band. They're a phenomenal tribute band. Up to Here.
Awesome.
Good band.
That's they're Guelph located, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend Ian Gelb's the drummer. Yeah.
Okay, so their bass player is my neighbor at Jam Spots.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. But
Vlad and Julian in the band, yeah, they're all good guys, man. It's a great band.
But that's awesome. I still gotta check them out. But yeah, dude, I could do this all day, but I gotta put a pin in it here just to make sure we're staying on schedule here. But we gotta do a part 2. And honestly, man, when your podcast gets going, man, dude, I would be honored to come on.
You want the crazy tea kettle on for another show? Dude, I gotta think of some more stories. I think I might have given you all.
Something tells me you got some more in there, man. But we'll do it again sometime, dude. And thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, Derek, thanks for having me on. I'm honored, man. I'm just a little microcosm in the music world. A little show trying to help people.
Well, hey, likewise, man. But I mean, there's power in numbers, so I'm glad we can kind of team up and do this.
Yeah. Try and expose some great music out there, give it a platform,
Hell yeah, dude. The last thing I do is spin 2 tunes. First up, we're gonna spin Bonnie Trash with Hellmouth, followed by today's double feature preacher artist Nzondi with Something in the Dark. She's Gone. Devere, thanks again, man. Really, really appreciate it.
Here's rock and roll, man. That's awesome. Thanks, dude.
Hell yeah.
I'm honored.
Oh, honor's all mine, my friend. And
thank you.
To the listeners, thanks so much for your time. Catch you next time. I
We're the ultimate geeks. So we've been winning like 6 months darkest rooms. I close my eyes, starting to run to darker rooms. Something's about to give. This ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart. Something's in the dark. Something's about to give. This ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart. Something's in the dark. She's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone. She's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone. If I listen to the laws, seems they'll leave me leaves. Wish I could touch what I can't see. It's gotta be, it's gotta be. Those times with some truths, but losers getting loose. I'm aching to be used, spiritually abused. Maybe I'd end up faster if I just stand still. There's gotta be an answer, is the question my will. Something's about to give, this ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart, something's in the dark. Something's about to give, this ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart, something's in the dark. She's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone. She's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone. I don't care what you say, there's gotta be a better way. I don't care what you say, there's gotta be a better way. I don't care what you say, there's gotta be a better way. I don't care what you say, there's gotta be a better way. Better way. I can count the ways I'm having a bad day. I can count the ways. Something's about to give. This ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart. Something's in the dark. Something's about to give. This ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart. Something's in the dark. Something's about to give. This ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart. Something's in the dark. Something's about to give. This ain't a way to live. You're tearing up my heart. Something's in the dark. Something's about to give. This ain't the way to live. You're tearing up my heart. Something's in the dark. 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 She's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone. She's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone.